Hello, we are back at Fractal Brewing Project for yet another delicious beer. This week we have the Time Taker Pilsner. It's very light and in a very fancy looking glass.
Beautiful.
It is quite nice. Unlike last time, I don't have depressing books today. But I figured I'd trade back going first with you. So what you got?
Okay, well, I figure since we're drinking the Time Taker, I chose books that kind of give you time back. So this one, this first one I chose is Breakthrough Rapid Reading by Peter Kump. He is the Director of Education for Evelyn Wood's Reading Dynamics. Now, Evelyn Woods is pretty well known for having books about speed reading, and just to learn how to do that. You've probably seen people do it in movies where they're supposed to be like, super genius, I can read a page in like 5 seconds. Yeah. These are the techniques that they are teaching you. So, and they teach you like, this technique is called this is this. I never was a big fan of reading as a kid. I mean, as I got older, I liked it, but I hated, I guess, just sitting there doing nothing. I was such an active kid. And I learned how to speed read, and suddenly reading became much more enjoyable for me, to the point now where my husband kind of gets pissed because he's like, how do you do that so fast? He just sees me flipping. So it does work. This book is great. It has diagrams. It has examples. I would just read it for fun, and how the chapters are set up, you can pick it up, put it down. You can skip ahead. I mean, it's not where you have to sit there and read it from front to back.
That's good.
But yeah, it gives you like the different types of readers, like a skimmer or a scanner or a visual reader. So I learned like sometimes I'm a visual reader, sometimes I'm a skimmer, sometimes I'm a scanner, and I do it depending on maybe if I'm reading something for graduate school, or maybe if I'm reading something for pleasure, or if I'm just checking the newspaper to see if something that I need for work, you know. So it's really neat. Yeah, no, I just loved it. And if you're a slow reader or you hate reading, maybe this would help, who knows.
Or if you just have to read 4 books a week for school. Like,
yeah, or beer and books.
Where you have to read so many books.
You know, you're in graduate school and reading 3 books a week.
We love our jobs.
Yes, we do. All right, the second book I chose, I could have totally used this back in Tutwiler at Bama back in the 90s. I wish I had this back in the 90s when I was in college, but this book came out in 2010, so, you know, never would have gotten it. This is called Not Your Mother's Microwave Cookbook by Beth Hensperger. She's actually a James Beard Award winning author.
What?
I know. No, listen, this book is not mac and cheese, y'all. I mean, I'm sure there's a mac and cheese recipe in here.
Yeah,
this book is like foods you would never think you could prepare in a microwave. But it teaches you the proper use of like setting your settings on your microwave. Like, you know, you have all these buttons, and you really just use like the add 30 seconds one, you know. But no, this teaches you how a microwave functions. You can cook fish in a microwave, and it turned out well. And it's broken up in chapters, so like you start with like hors d'oeuvres and dips, and then you go into like sides, and then desserts, and then main courses, fish, chicken, meat. You know, it's soups. It's such a neat cookbook. I found one used at one of our friends at the library bookstores.
Nice.
I bought it for my son, who is not going off to college anytime soon, but I'm like, I just want to read this. But when he does go off to college, this would actually be a really good book for a college kid to read.
I was going to say, if I had that when I was living in a dorm, yeah, that would have been great.
I mean, in the 90s, you had like a microwave and a fridge. Now they have like sweets and, you know, all these nice things. We don't have that. But no, this is still a really cool thing, especially maybe, you know, somebody who just hates cooking.
Yeah.
This is something where it's simple recipes, and it's a variety of recipes. So it's something that, you know, you could use in a hotel even. So I really liked it. It will save time. It's not a time taker. It's a time saver.
There you go.
So.
Nice tight with the beer.
And the last book I chose, I've been trying to find a reason to share this book with y'all. Because B is for beer.
B is for beer.
A children's book for grown-up, or a grown-up book for children. That's the actual title. It's written by Tom Robbins. Tom Robbins also wrote Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, which was a 1993 movie with Uma Thurman and a bunch of other really famous people. So he's a very well-known humorous writer. This, of course, it's got like a little bit of a fantasy element to it because it's told through the eyes of a 6-year-old about beer.
Of course.
About watching her dad drink beer. About trying to understand what beer is. And now, honestly, it's only 125 pages. The type is big. It even has pictures. So, I mean, really, if you combine these 2 books, you could get done with this in seconds.
Like,
but no, I mean, it's a small book. I probably, as a mom, I have kids that are all middle school and younger. I probably wouldn't read this to my kids just because it does deal with family issues, and there is a lot of heavy drinking in it. You know, obviously I'm not against drinking, but heavy drinking. So maybe you wouldn't want to read a story about like that to your kids. It's all, you know, your prerogative. But yeah, so but it is a funny book. It takes you in totally different directions you didn't see going. But yeah, B is for beer.
wow. That sounds amazing. You'll have to look at it. And that one's obviously like in physical form. You found that in
Yeah,
there.
all of these.
What section did you find that in? Is it adult fiction?
Oh, I think it's, I don't know, I've had this, it says YA, so, but I think it's adult. Yeah.
Is it saying young adult?
It says YA.
Okay.
Now there are multiple copies of speed reading books that we have in our catalog, so if you don't get this one, there are other ones. And I think there's a couple of microwave recipes and stuff like that too. So if you don't find this exact book, we have others.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Variations on the same thing.
Yeah, but this is the only one that I know of that we have.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so you focused on like saving time with our
Yes.
Time Taker beer.
Yes.
I heard Time Taker and I was just like, sci-fi! Because I heard Time Taker and I'm just like, okay, time travel, time hopping, that's what I'm going to focus on. And I was trying to find some books that aren't necessarily something I would pick off the shelf, but they all ended up being really nice. The first one is called Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Japanese writer. It was translated to English. There are a couple words I think the translation was a little odd, but maybe not. I could be wrong. It came out last year, so the physical books still have a bit of a hold list, but it's also available in Hoopla and Overdrive, both as audiobooks and ebooks. I did the audiobook because I had 2 other things I needed to read, and I was just like, plug it in the car. So it's about this little cafe in a back alley in Tokyo, and the urban legend is, in this cafe, they have the ability to send you back in time. But there's like rules, like there's a time constraint. You are brewed a special cup of coffee, and you have to drink the entire cup of coffee before it gets cold, otherwise you get kind of stuck in like this limbo land. Another rule they have is like there's only one chair, a single chair that will send you back, and you cannot move from that chair while you were in the past. So you have like this physical restraint as well as kind of. There's a few other rules. I feel like it changed a little bit over the book, and I'm not sure if that was intentional by the author or unintentional. Either way, it had a different. You always think of time travel books as having like, you do this, you do not do this. And so it has its own list of things. There's 4 different stories. The first one is called, I think, The Two Lovers. The next one is called Husband and Wife. And there's a couple other that the names completely escape me. It is, I will say, it's a bit heavy. Trigger warnings as far as I was able to document. It's written to get an emotional response. It's very sentimental. But other things, it could be the difference of Japanese culture versus American culture, but there are a lot of traditional perspectives put on women, family over job. At one point, it's a pregnant woman deciding to be pregnant over her own health, and that's neither here nor there for a lot of people, I understand. There's also a character that has early onset Alzheimer's. So if any of these things are triggering to you, do not read this book. Otherwise, It is really beautifully written, and I would otherwise suggest it. Second one, you suggested this one to me.
I was going to read this one, and I thought, you know what? This goes more with what Heather's taking this direction.
And I have to say, I was up to like midnight finishing it last night, not because I couldn't finish it this morning. I could have, but I was so into it by the end that I was just like, I can't go to sleep until I know.
Now, was I correct? Is that the same author that has the Midnight Library out right now? Okay, so the Midnight Library is still on hold right now, because that was going to be...
Oh, yes. So this is by Matt Haig. It's called How to Stop Time. And Matt Haig, this came out a couple years ago. He just had a new book come out called The Midnight Library. I am 103rd on the holds list. And that is the physical books. Like, we have 20 copies in the library system, and I am 103rd on the hold list.
But I do believe it's on Cookbook?
It is on, it's on Overdrive.
Overdrive, okay.
It's on Overdrive, which also has a massive holding list.
Lord.
Yeah. But anyway, so it's a different take on immortality. Tom Hazard, he is 439 years old. He has a condition to where he hit puberty, and sometime around when he turned 13, his body stopped growing at the same rate as his age. So for every 15 years he's alive, he gains 1 year in physical appearance. So he ends up, he was born, I want to say, in the 1500s. And so by our time, he's 439 years old. It's possible this was set a little while back. I didn't check my math. But the crux of the book is he, roughly a century previous to when the book is set, he had joined something called the Albatross Society, and it's a whole bunch of people that have grouped together like him who have this aging condition, and they group together to kind of protect themselves. Well, one of the big rules is you don't fall in love. You can fall in love with a place you live, you can fall in love with an excellent beer, but you can't fall in love with a person because the secrecy you hold on behalf of like the Albatross Society is too great, and you could endanger a lot of people, including the person you tell, because, fun fact, the Albatross Society likes to kill people they think endangers them. It's written like a memoir. It goes back and forth between now and his past a lot, but not in a biography way. It's not sequential. He has things that happen in his now present life that trigger memories. And the triggering memories part is helps build the character you are kind of like questioning.
That sounds like it'd be a really good TV series almost.
I think it would be. It would be an excellent sci-fi
because
series.
You could go it'd be like Star Trek. You could just like, okay, and now we're going to do this.
And now we're going to do this. So this one was really good. I think there is a small holds list right now. As soon as I turn this back in, you could probably check it out. We have, I think, 4 copies in the system. And I don't think this is on digital, so I think this is physical might be the only one we have.
You can check on Hoopla.
Yeah.
If you've never used Hoopla, it's super easy. You just type in the author or the title, and it'll pull it up. And the inventory changes every month. So if it's not on now, it could be on next month too.
Absolutely. So keep checking. It's good. And then go ahead and check out Midnight Library. But you just have to wait like 6 or 8 months. Get on the list now. And when you forget about it and then get that magical email that says, I remember a library book you wanted to check out. My last book, oh my goodness gracious, I haven't done a graphic novel in a while, if ever, and I went to our graphics, comics specialist,
John,
and I was like, John, I need a time travel book that is not obvious. He goes, that is a bit more of an ask than just simply a time travel book. But what I ended up with is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, in Timescream. Elvira, of course, is like this big characterization, has been on the air for years and years. In this book, she is filming a Frankenstein, Dracula-esque type movie, and one time when she goes back to her trailer for a break, there's just like this coffin in there, and it kind of sucks her into the coffin, and it sends her back in time.
And she gets to meet who?
She gets to meet Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley and Lord Byron and whatever Mr. Shelley's first name is. Well, Shelley meaning Frankenstein.
Yeah.
She gets to meet Eddie.
Little Eddie again.
She gets to meet Edgar Allan Poe, and if you don't understand why we're happy about Eddie, go watch episode 10. She also meets Bram Stoker and a lot of 1930s movie stars at beginning part of making, horror films.
Yeah.
And through all of this, she has to figure out why she was sent back in time to meet all these horror writers.
I also covered Mary Shelley, or the adaptation, sometime in October.
It was pretty early, yeah. It was,
yeah. So
it may have been episode 9, in fact.
I think it was like 4.
Maybe. I don't know. Go back and watch the list.
Check it out.
Anyway, this came out in 2019. There's a surprising amount of modern day references. There's a lot of fourth wall breaking, a lot of innuendo. If you've never seen Elvira, she is hilarious, and that's why I loved this graphic novel. Anyway, go check out all of these. Hopefully, it's a great spread for y'all. You can pick what you like and don't what you don't.
And take a Time Taker Pilsner with you. That is yummy.
Exactly.
Very good Pilsner.
Hopefully, we'll be back at Fractal in the future.
Yes.
I think we're going to be somewhere else next time. But until then, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel for the library, and we'll see ya. Bye.